Yes.
We're live.
I've come into a domestic, Johnny, for a number of reasons. He's just putting his Easter egg away.
Well, my belly's rumbling, so apologies for unwelcome sound effects.
I did offer him some toast.
Yeah.
Anyway, hello everybody.
Hello. Good to see you all.
Anyway, hello everybody.
Oh, that's unprofessional,
I told
isn't it?
Mark to make sure he'd muted himself, and I haven't muted myself. There we go.
Right.
Oh God, we don't want to hear that twice, do we?
No.
So how is everybody? We give it a few minutes before we start. How's everybody been? We're all right, aren't we, Mark?
Yeah, doing well.
Are we all right? I can't remember.
Well, it usually fluctuates, but at the moment we're all right.
Marie Susan's in.
Oh, good on you, Susan.
Oh, it's good to see everybody. We're hot off the press today, and I've had to practice because I'm going to be doing some singing. I know.
Yeah.
Mark's had to put up with it all
It's
day.
going to be beautiful.
It's not good.
Don't tell him. You shouldn't drive him off right at the start.
Well, to be fair, if I play this nonsense, I'll get kicked off. So you're going to have to put up with my singing. And what I'm going to do is, and I tried this at the very beginning before we had our posh computer, I tried to share a video, and we had a really shit computer, and it just kept buffering. We got a bit of a better computer, so I'm going to try and play a video without sound on, and we'll see if it buffers. If it does, I've got just a picture of this nonsense rather than the actual video. Do you want me to tell them what you're doing?
You can if you want.
I'm not going to tell them.
Okay.
No, I'm not telling them.
It's exactly a secret.
Outrageous. Okay, everybody. So we start off with, this is the news, but it's going to be slightly different because I'm going to try and share something. I'm not very technical. We're not very good at this. So, don't expect too much. But what I'm going to try and do is share a video with silent, otherwise they'll kick me off. And I'm going to give the words. So please bear with me because I'm not technical minded and we're just learning how to do this. So be patient. So here it goes.
Oh, be wary, everybody. Be wary.
Beware.
Gird yourself.
Right. So first of all, I'm going to do this, and it's going to do the infinity thing. But then I'm going to try and let's just see if it works. The infinity thing. But I want to share this nonsense. Now, if it starts buffering, please tell us it's buffering, and Liz, stop trying to be clever.
I think we can see it. It's looking all right.
It might not be. It's good for them to tell us, so in it. So you keep a lookout on there.
Yeah. Can you see? We're down in the little corner,
feet.
And you've got. Yeah.
Right. Let's go. Now, if I played this, they would kick me off YouTube in 2 minutes. I've had that before. So the tune goes like this. Well, you're going to hear because I'm going to sing it to you, but it's not going to be very tuneful. Now, the reason I'm playing this is because Thomas, if you've seen my previous video today called Raw No, with a picture of a strange person and a monkey, you'll know why I'm playing this. Thomas said, go and have a look at this video because the comments are brilliant. They'll give you hope. So I went on there and the comments were giving us hope, and I put my own little comment in there. And I went on there today, and the comments have been disabled because apparently somebody said there's like over 5,000 downvotes and only 4,000 upvotes, apparently. But that was yesterday. So the comments have been taken off of this. And I was watching Candice Owens, and she did a little video about this nonsense as well. And I think she's got a point. So she compares this to blackface. She calls it woman face. Lots of people have called it that. I've heard Thomas call it that. Me and you have called it that. Woman face. Okay, so we're not allowed to say anything about this, but this is taking it to a different level where it is actually tropes of what girls or women are. Okay, so this Dylan Mulvahony is a 29-year-old born as a man person. Okay, wants to be a woman, but this is what he thinks a woman is, and I'm going to say this is a little bit of a trope of what a woman is and shouldn't really be allowed. And I understand why Candice calls it woman face. So The words to this song are, I think, a little bit outrageous. So I'm going to play you the video without the music, and I'm just going to read it out. I've got to read it out quite fast, mine. And we'll go through it, see what you think. Okay, so no music, just me chatting shit. Let's go. So it starts off, big feet walk into a house. Okay, so in a minute, it's going to go, ah, ah, ah. Okay, and then it says, let's wait for it. I've watched this so you don't have to. Let's wait for it to start. Ring the alarms immediately. We have a code pink emergency. Calling women of all ages. Girls like me got to learn the basics. Last look, quick change, sip champagne. Playing catch up because we missed the pre-game. Pull up the group chat. Where you at? Drop a pin. We're doing hot shit, girl. What? We're doing hot girl shit. Get in. Monday, can't get out of bed. Tuesday morning, pick up meds. Wednesday, retail therapy. Cash or credit? I say yes. Thursday, had a walk of shame. Didn't even know his name. Weekends are for kissing friends. Friday night, I'll overspend. Saturday, we flirt for drinks. Playing wingman to our twinks. Sunday, the Twilight soundtrack. Cues my breakdown in the bath. These are the days, these are the days, these are the days of girlhood. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. That goes on for quite a little bit. I said these are the days, these are the days, these are the days of clown world. I thought that was quite funny. Got my dolls by my side. And then it goes on to the next verse. I'm just waiting for it to go into the next verse. It's horrendous. Hot girls to the front of the line, linked arms, no stress, because we're dressed up to the nines. Mini skirt sits below my hips, dyed my blonde hair, pillow talk on my lips. Boys on the dance floor, it's finally clear. The patriarchy's over, you can hold my beer. Back at home, we replay the breakup, stay up all night, fall asleep in our makeup. Mom brought me into the world. Sister taught me how to girl. Best friend coached me how to text. The toy boy that I'm dating next. Girls who helped me show the way. They're why I'm an it girl today. And then it just does all that nonsense again. Rise and shine, they're all mine. Thick or thin, I'll be all right. Got my dolls by my side. These are the days, these are the days. You get the idea. So it does that for quite some time. So let's just, for some reason, it gets into a bath with its clothes on. So it's in it. We don't understand that. But then we got this bit and it just goes, it's just like this really sort of like, oh, nice romantic music and played by another feminine person. And then at the very end, bless her, she says, love ya. So, okay, back to us, I think, Mark. But hopefully you got the gist of that nonsense. Okay. Any thoughts?
Ben says total 20 teens feminist crap. And so that's sort of where you're going in a way. It's like, it's a stereotype.
Yeah, it's a complete stereotype. And if you stereotype anybody else, you are completely and utterly cancelled and frowned upon, and it's all very not allowed. So I would urge you to watch our video we did today, raw no, because I think I said it a bit more succinctly than I'm saying it now. I want to shout out to all you men out there to not be cross with women like who you think are being feminist, because you might think I'm being feminist by saying this, but I'm actually saying, no, I'm not being a feminist. I'm not being an anythingist. I'm just, women are being treated the same as white heterosexual males. And it's about time we all stuck up for each other, because it's getting to the point where if I say that, I'm shot down. I'm shot down. So we all need to stick together, men and women, and not be divided by, oh, it's feminism. Do you know what I mean? I'm not explaining it very well, but I think it's time now for us to make a stand and be there for the women in our lives. Be there for your sisters, your mothers, your partners.
Yeah, just ordinary heterosexual women, or just women, not even heterosexual, just women, born women, are being attacked and derided, you know, and
that's not us being feminist, okay? That's us literally going, what is going on here? And so I do agree with Candace Owens when she said that this is a trope just as bad as she compares it to like the black and white minstrel show posters. She's like, I'm not an idiot. I know if a 4-year-old dresses up at Halloween as Pocahontas, they're not racist. She's not stupid. She's not saying that. She's not being woke, but it's getting ridiculous now. And that's it. That's all I've got to say on that, I think. I said it a lot better and a lot more succinctly in the last video. So please go and watch that, because I was quite proud of that one.
Yeah, no, it's good points.
So let's just yeah. I don't think I made much of a point other than, please, let's just not accept this nonsense. And let's see, just as white heterosexual males have recently been, what's the word? Attacked. All women now are being attacked, and it's not me being a feminist wokey. Okay, there we go. So that's my bit of news. A bit odd, that, wasn't it? So let's.
Yeah, Cosmic saying vast majority of people see through this nonsense. I think it is something that people are pushing back against, really.
They are, and that's why the comments have been disabled on that particular video. Yeah. It's not getting, it's getting a backlash, and I'm all for that. So I'm just encouraging everybody to, you know, join with women, just as we would join, just as we have and will continue to join with men and fight toxic masculinity. Absolute bullshit. I've always fought against people saying things like that. We need to be strong, and we need to be together, and we just need to, no divisions, men and women, because that's the biggest one. That's the biggest psyop they've done. That's the biggest psyop they've done, and now it's time for us to come together. Okay. Okay, moving on.
Johnny said, well said this.
Thanks, my love. I didn't say it very well, but please go and watch my previous video, because I'm rather proud of that one, and I was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I've just been talking about it too much.
No, well, yeah. I think it is hilarious just by showing that stupid video and just ridiculing it, because it's the words themselves are just ridiculous. But
oh God, the words. Let's have a little look at the words. I forgot about that. So what they're saying, this is what women do. Okay, women, they get up on a Monday. They get out. So all they can do on a Monday is pull their sorry asses out of bed. They can't seem to do anything else on a Monday. They get out on bed. Tuesday. Now this is so dark. On Tuesday, they go and pick up their meds. Do they?
Yeah.
Why is that in a? Oh, you know, that's so normal. That's just like brushing your hair and you know, brushing your teeth. On a Tuesday, you go and get your meds. Wednesday is retail therapy. Cash or credit? I say yes. Thursday, had a walk of shame. Didn't even know his name. Now, a walk of shame is where you leave the house in the morning and everybody knows what you've been at because you've got the Saturday night clothes on, sort of thing. But I didn't even know his name. Wednesdays are for kissing friends. Friday night, I'll overspend. Saturday, we flirt for drinks. Playing wingman to our twinks. I had to look up what twinks was. Twinks apparently is the effeminate gay person. So they call it the bottom. So it's a horrible thing to talk about. Sunday, we listen to the soundtrack, Twilight soundtrack, in the bath, which cues my breakdown. So I'm having a nervous breakdown in the bath on a Sunday. So let's have a look at my week as a woman. I get out of bed on a Monday. I pick up my meds on a Tuesday. I shop on a Wednesday. Thursday, I shag somebody that I don't even know his name. I kiss my friends on a Friday, but I'll overspend as well. I flirt for drinks on a Saturday. And on Sunday, I have a nervous breakdown in the bath listening to a Twilight soundtrack in my nightie. She didn't even have clothes on. So that's what women do. And if that's not fucking offensive and tropes, and if women aren't up in arms about that, then there's no hope. Good news is they are. And I just want to be a voice. I want to be a voice on the record, adding to that dissent. I think that's all I got to say.
Yeah, well, everyone's agreeing with you. Cosmic says his girlfriend's agreeing, and it's the erasure of women, and DJ's obviously agreeing. Everyone's agreeing basically, and
yeah,
Mari's saying meaning women are essentially hoes, which is what they're saying.
Medicated hoes that just don't get me started. I'm already started. I've been started all day about this.
We've got to sort of get you started because it's your live stream.
Oh yeah, get me started.
So if you didn't get started,
it'd be a load of rubbish. It's still a load of rubbish. Let's move on. Right, shall we do a quiz, everybody? Shall we? Let's do a bloody quiz.
Yeah.
Okie muckdokie. Fingers on buzzers, please. Let me get the quiz up. Now, there's some learning in this one. Well, there always is.
Yeah.
I've only just finished it. Right, let's go. Is everybody ready with their finger? Let me have a little drink. I'm never going to I'm not going to give up my day job. I mean, I don't think that was singing. Right. Is everybody ready? Number 1. The Terracotta Army is a collection of terracotta sculptures depicting the armies of, I'm never going to say this right, Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. It is a form of funerary art buried with the emperor in 210 to 209 BCE, with the purpose of protecting him in his afterlife. How long did it take to finish? 10 years? 40 years? 30 years? We don't think, we're going to ask you a question. Do you want, answer this question, 10 years, 40 years or 30 years, and then tell us if you want the stupid baby music or not, because I think we're trying to be a bit more professional, and we thought that might be selling us a bit short. But what do you think? Do we need the music or not? I'll let you tell us. But we'll wait for the it feels a bit weird not to have do. It feels a bit weird not having that, but the music's fun, right? DJ, music's fun. That's all I needed. Oh, I'm going in. Yeah, that's all I needed to hear. Get the bloody music on. Yay! Having
Ben
a
loves
little
the
dance.
baby music.
Move left. Do they like the baby music?
Yeah, Ben loves the baby music.
Baby loves it. Oh, it's too late. They've answered. Right. I'm glad about that because sitting here in silence, it didn't feel right. Okay. Who was the first one, Mark, to write 40 years?
That will be Mari.
Speak up, because you're
Mari.
Bloody, you go from one extreme to the next. Well done, Mari. 40 years. China's first emperor spent much of his life searching for immortality and built himself a tomb complex that encompassed 20 square miles. Construction of the tomb began when the future emperor of Qin took power at the age of 13. As part of the complex, more than 700,000 labourers constructed a life-size terracotta army and tomb complex. The clay soldiers remained untouched for more than 2,000 years until 1974, when they were unearthed by Chinese farmers. Experts estimate there are more than 8,000 soldiers, 130 chariots, and 670 horses. Recent digs have also uncovered terracotta acrobats, musicians, and waterfowl. Every soldier is unique, no two are alike, and each has unique and realistic features. I'd like to go and see that.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Okie dokie. Fingers on buzzers, please. In November 1910, 6 men met at an exclusive club and laid the foundations for the Federal Reserve. Which club did they attend? Bilderberg, Club of Rome, Skull and Bones, Jekyll Island, Bohemian Grove. Federal Reserve. Did it come out of Bilderberg, Club of Rome, Skull and Bones, Jekyll Island, Bohemian Grove? Bilderberg, Club of Rome, Skull and Bones, Jekyll Island, Bohemian Grove. Let's do the MK Ultra lights. Right, okay. Who was first with Jekyll Island, Mark?
That will be Mari the Great again.
Mari the Great! Or Susan. The answer is Jekyll Island. Nelson Aldrich, A. Piat Andrew, Henry Davison, and Arthur Shelton, and Frank Vanderlip, oh my Christ, and Paul Warburg met at the Jekyll Island Club off the coast of Georgia to write a plan to reform the nation's banking system. The meeting and its purpose were closely guarded secrets, and participants did not admit that the meeting occurred until the 1930s. But the plan, written on Jekyll Island, laid a foundation for what would eventually be the Federal Reserve System. Bum, bum, bum. DJ makes a good point. The music is like a catchphrase for the quiz. I know, I don't feel like we've started until we've done that. We've done that. Okie dokie. Let's do number 3. Fingers on buzzers, please. Jay Widener and Vincent Bridges investigate which mysterious artifact and discover, amongst other things, that it encodes the imminent date of the apocalypse. So Jay Widener and Vincent Bridges investigate which mysterious artifact and discover, amongst other things, it encodes the imminent date of the apocalypse. The Voynich manuscript, the Madrid Codex, the Great Cross of Henday, I can't say that one. Saxy Woman Walls. I think it's like Sexy Woman Walls. Madrid Codex, Voynich manuscript, Cross of Henday, Saxy Woman Walls. Okie dokie. Who was first with Great Cross of Henday?
That'll be DJ.
DJ, we got books on that behind us that we haven't read.
Just be Ben. Yeah.
Well done, DJ. So I literally got this off the back of the book. So the blurb on the back of the book, which we haven't read, The Mysteries of the Great Cross of Henday says, The Mysteries of the Great Cross of Henday reveals one of Western occultism's deepest secrets. The alchemical transformation of base metal into gold is also the transformation of the current Iron Age into the Golden Age. Based on the work of the enigmatic 20th century alchemist Falconelli, authors Widener and Bridges show how the greatest alchemical secret is that of time itself, and that coded into an obscure monument in southwestern France, the cross in the town square of Henday is the imminent date of the apocalypse. From the Cross of Henday to the western facade of the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris, from the Pyrenees to ancient Egypt and the secret origins of Atlantis in Peru, the author's explorations reveal that we are indeed living in a fatal season, intimately connected to our solar system's alignment with the galactic center. The author's in-depth examination of alchemy's connection with the coming end of days also reveals that this astro-alchemical knowledge was part of the sacred science of the Egyptians and the Atlanteans, whose coded messages are, at least, deciphered to guide humanity to its future destiny. Ooh, and we haven't got that. We've got the book, we haven't read it.
No, it's on the list. It will be a thing.
The list is ridiculous. Well done, DJ. Right. Are we ready? Fingers on buzzers, please. Who predicted that a new world order would emerge in the future, which would be characterized by a greater emphasis on spiritual values and a more harmonious relationship between humans and the natural world? Nikola Tesla, Mark Twain, Edgar Casey, Jules Verne. So New World Order that would be more harmonious with humans and a natural world. Tesla, Mark Twain, Edgar Casey, Jules Verne. Right. Who was first with Casey, Mark Froud?
That will be DJ
Ooh,
again.
He's coming on strong.
Mm.
Edgar Casey, 1877 to 1945, was an American self-proclaimed faith healer and psychic. He was known for his trance-like states, where he aligned his mind with the universal consciousness and challenged insights, offering practical help and advice to answer questions asked by people from across the country. He gave psychic readings to thousands of seekers while in an unconscious state, diagnosing illnesses and revealing lives lived in the past and prophecies yet to come. These insights were documented and became known as Edgar Casey readings and are still used today. The majority of his readings deal with holistic health and the treatment of illness, and individuals from all walks of life and belief receive physical relief from illnesses or ailments through information given in the readings. Even though some readings are 100 years old, Edgar Casey was the founder of the Association of Research and Enlightenment Incorporated. Casey basically said people's consciousness would change in the 21st century and there would be a new, what he called, root race, who would have an understanding of material versus non-material life. The main change will be the acceptance that we survive death. In his book on Casey, Mark A. Thurston summarizes him as saying, "Nevertheless, strong cultural forces work against this new agreement. Certain elements of our society would just as soon we dismiss or forget such an important fact as our own timeless existence as spiritual beings. Much of our impatient, consumer-driven culture depends on the emotions of fear and desire, the very feelings that so easily melt away when we accept the continuity of life. And so there is still considerable work to be done if the consciousness of a new root race is really to take hold and guide the world." So his new world order, it sounds like it's more in tune with natural law, and they have bastardized it. So as we come out of Kali and go into Dvipara, our consciousness changes and it will be more compatible and harmonious with nature and the fact that we don't die, and so they've kind of got hold of this new world order. They know the consciousness, in my opinion, they know the consciousness is changing, so they've got to turn it into something horrendous. But he's saying, yes, consciousness is going to change and it'll be a good thing, but there are dark forces that are trying to harness it and turn it into bad. Well, I think we all agree with that, don't we?
Yep.
So I said to Mark, you got to do a talk on Casey, because I didn't really know nothing about him.
Well, I know even less. So as I was just saying in the chat, I need to check him out more. But yep, for another day.
He sounds fascinating.
Yeah, and does indeed.
Everybody learned, Andy. I did that one by myself.
Yeah. Oh. Oh.
Bloody hell, Froud.
Oh, sorry, I was reading the chat.
Right.
Sorry.
Fingers on buzzers, please. Number 5. Imagine an energy source that was infinite, clean, and completely scalable. Well, some scientists have, but what have they called it? Radiant energy, 0 point energy, kinetic energy. Radiant, 0 point, kinetic. Good. I'm glad to see everybody got this one right. Everybody
Body
learned,
learned,
Andy.
Andy.
There we go. Bloody hell. Right. Oh my Christ. I went onto so many freaking physics bloody websites to try and get a breakdown of this in like Liz brain world, because I know about zero energy and I know what it's supposed to be, but Christ, try getting that in a bite-sized bloody. So I didn't. So you got a lot of words coming up. So this is from the website How Stuff Works. I was literally typing in 0 point for beginners, 0 point for idiots, 0 point for children, because I was like, I don't fucking get that. Right, so this is from the website How Stuff Works. They do try to debunk it, but I don't think they do a very good job about it. But that's the only way I could get an explanation that I could understand. Okie dokie. So this is what they say. Imagine an energy source, which I've already said because I nicked it, that was infinite, clean, and completely scalable. It would solve many of the world's problems and sounds too good to be true. This is the promise of 0 point energy. The idea that the lowest possible energy of a system, its ground state, can in fact be harnessed by a machine. And they say, unfortunately, it's still very much the realm of science fiction. So I say, go and have a look at the John Hutchinson effect for some interesting experiments. Okay, John Hutchinson would disagree that it is in the realm of science fiction. So the concept of 0 point energy as a phenomena of quantum mechanics is in fact accepted by physicists and is not considered controversial. The most accessible example of 0 point energy is the vacuum. It doesn't mean Henry the Hoover, all right? Okay. A vacuum is simply the ground state point of lowest possible energy of all the fields in space. Christ, this just took me so bloody long. The 0 point energy of a system fluctuates naturally, giving it a wave-like nature. While the concept of 0 point energy is generally accepted, the idea that this energy can be harnessed as a power source is highly controversial. The theory is that a device could capture the 0 point energy, which is commonly considered to be infinite. This idea, at its root, in conflict with the current understanding of the 0 point according to physics. The problem, it turns out, I don't know if I've never done an experiment, I'm just reading it, is that the 0 point is a level which a thermodynamic system can never dip below. This means that this bit made sense. This means that if energy could be pulled from a system at its 0 point, that point would lower instead of yielding infinite energy. Thus, a perpetual motion machine based on 0 point energy would be chasing a goal it could never, thanks to quantum mechanics, reach. I got that because it's like we're trying to get the lowest, and by trying to get the lowest, it goes lower. I think that's what it means. So this is me talking. I said, nah, that's a bit too boring. And who the hell knows what we'll discover going further and further into Dvapara Yuga. Because Dvapara Yuga is all about understanding electricity and energy and plasma, everybody. Plasma, that's what we keep talking about. So sorry if that was rambly, but I really wanted to get my head around that because I knew the words, but I didn't know the meaning. And I don't know if I'm still any wiser. I think I'm a bit more wiser.
Yeah.
Everybody learned, Andy. Oh, I hope they did. Yeah. They've all switched off, I expect.
No, they're still in.
Oh, well done, guys.
Yep.
Right, number 6.
Johnny's buffeting, but you've had a bit of buffeting in your life.
You do buffer my little love, don't you?
You've had a bit of buffeting, Johnny, but
he's a bufferer.
Yeah.
Number 6. Fingers on buzzers, please. What does the term the Warminster thing refer to? A large cat, UFOs, the British Bigfoot, a sentient blob, the Warminster thing. A large cat, UFOs, British Bigfoot, sentient blob. And I don't mean Mark. Bigfoot, UFOs, blob. Oh, cat, Bigfoot, UFOs, blob.
Johnny's put interesting. Right. So, oh Christ.
Oh,
that was very dramatic when that bit comes on. When it's like the start of an Agatha Christie episode or something.
So who was the first one? And I think I know who the first one would be.
Yeah.
With UFOs.
It was the great glorious Ben.
The glorious Ben.
And we know Ben has been there and
done a reportage.
Yeah, indeed.
We've been there. We just didn't do a reportage. We had a really disappointing meal in Witherspoons.
We're not saying that Ben is the Warminster thing, but just that Ben knows much about it.
So basically, this is taken from Mental Floss website. At 1:25 a.m. on Christmas 1964, resident Mildred Head awoke with a start. Her ceiling, she later told local journalist Arthur Shuttlewood, had come alive with strange sounds lashing at the roof. It sounded like twigs brushing against the tiles and got louder and louder until it reverberated like giant hailstones. Head got out of bed to look out of the window but found nothing there. She did, however, hear another noise, a humming sound that grew louder before fading to a faint whisper. It was just the start of what would become a decades-long mystery and string of UFO sightings known around the world as the Warminster Thing. Now, we live about 15 minutes away from Warminster and Rudlow and Pewsham and Stonehenge and Avebury and Glastonbury. So it's no wonder we're fully fledged nutters.
Cosmically aligned.
We're cosmically aligned.
We're in the centre.
We're in the centre. We're cosmically aligned.
Yeah.
So yeah, Warminster just up the road. It's a bit of a shithole.
Yeah, well,
but they've got a nice graffiti about the aliens.
Oh yeah, no, that's nice in the car park. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a time when we went on a drive and we went
on a drive. We went on like a mystery tour.
Yeah, we were like, oh, where are we going to end up? Oh, it could be Longleat. Oh, let's go to Glastonbury. Oh, no,
we lived near literally all of these amazing
Yeah, it was
places.
like, oh yeah, we're going to. And
it was a Sunday. Nothing was open.
And we ended up in
Warminster,
Wetherspoons
on a rainy day.
Yeah,
it was shit.
It was with the local alcoholics, but
we were the local alcoholics.
Well, I'll drive you to drink, Warminster anyway.
Right, who won? Ben. Well done, Ben.
Ben.
Well done, Ben. Right. Number 7. Fingers on buzzers, please. On the 23rd of September, 1979, a half dozen primary school children went for an evening walk in Woollerton Park in Nottingham. What did they encounter? 12 large winged creatures without faces, 60 gnomes in tiny cars, 4 giant saber-toothed rabbits. What did they encounter in Woollerton Park? Large winged creatures without faces, 60 gnomes in tiny cars, 4 giant saber-toothed rabbits. Okie dokie. Who was the first one?
I don't know. DJ put pedos offering sweets, but that wasn't an option.
We're going to get banned now.
Oh, sorry.
So, who put 60 gnomes in tiny cars?
Mari was in first, just ahead of DJ with the gnomes.
Oh, well
Ben
done.
Not far behind.
Right. Okay. I did quite a lot of looking into this.
Well done, Mari.
So this is taken from strangehistories.net. The Woollerton Gnomes was a classic anomalous encounter. The 23rd of September 1979, a half dozen primary school children went for an evening walk in Woollerton Park in Nottingham. A number of these children then saw 30 small cars, each with a gnome driver and passenger. The encounter lasted, according to the children, about 15 minutes. As the gnome cars chased them around the park, the kids eventually escaped out into the surrounding streets where the gnomes declined to follow them. There's so much local investigators and people going back and looking into that. I spent far too long and then decided just to put that bit in. But anyway, it's quite interesting. It's quite an interesting little thing. Strange, but true. Or just strange.
Well, yeah.
Right. Number 8. Fingers on buzzers, please. Oh God, this is a long one. Christ, the bloody question's 4 months long. Why do I do this to myself? Books like The Holy Blood and the Holy Grail and the Da Vinci Code, along with rumours of buried treasure, have brought tens of thousands of tourists to the small village in the south of France, Rennes-le-Château. Berenger Sanier was a well-dodgy priest. I think I wrote that bit. I don't think. Was a well-dodgy priest who was penniless, but spent millions on doing up the village church, the Church of St. Mary Magdalene. Known by villagers as preferring wine and women to practicing the priesthood, he certainly added some strange decor to the church. So this is a church in Rennes-le-Château, which is where the Da Vinci Code, etc., was written. So one such embellishment on this church, don't forget he was penniless but spent millions of pounds on it, dodgy. One such embellishment is the inscription above the church entrance. What does the inscription above the church entrance say? Now, I'm not going to read out the Latin or whatever that is. I'm just going to read it out in my language because Christ. Does it say, God from the machine, to err is human. This place is terrible. The die is cast. Dodgy priest, dodgy church, dodgy town. What does the inscription above its church say? God from the machine. To err is human. This place is terrible. The die is cast. We're having a bra malfunction live on air.
Oh, Christ.
It's like the bloody Oscars.
Oh, blimey.
I hope not. He was bloody had his knackers out.
I'm not doing that.
No, you're not. Okay, so did anybody write "This place is terrible," Mark Froud?
No.
Oh, you know what that means?
Yeah.
Nobody learned, Andy. Oh, so this dodgy priest who was penniless, spent millions on his church. The inscription above the door says "Terribilis locus est," which means this place is terrible, which I thought was hilarious. So, above the entrance to the church, there is a quote from Genesis 28:17. Terribilis est locus est. Sorry, this place is terrible, above the church entrance. I looked up the quote, and most of the references now say, if you look up Genesis 28:17, most of the quotes are from newer kind of Bibles, and they say that it says this place is awesome, which I know is another word for kind of daunting. But when we say awesome, we mean great in this day and age, don't we? Oh Christ, I've done it again. But I literally looked up Hebrew and everything. I was doing proper research for this one.
Yeah.
The word in Hebrew means dreadful. The full quote is regarding when Jacob had the dream about the ladder. So Jacob's ladder. He wakes up and says, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I knew it not." And he was afraid and said, "How dreadful is this place?" New Bibles say, "How awesome is this place?" This is none other but the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. And like I say, new versions of the Bible write awesome, which I think makes it sound less scary. So there's this ladder that Jacob dreams of going up in a ladder. I thought spaceship, I'm not going to lie. He goes up in a ladder, wakes up and says how awful this place of God is, basically. New Bibles have changed it to awesome. I don't think that's I'm suspicious. So yeah, he was like waking up. This place that God's just taken me to is bloody scary. Anyway, moving on.
No, I mean I agree. Definitely awesome. Now we just associate it being great, but I think maybe the origins of the word maybe is something like fills you with awe.
Yeah,
which can be something frightening.
But the Hebrew word is dreadful. I've looked it up. I did proper research.
I don't disbelieve.
I was like, don't even go there. So it means dreadful. So he's basically saying this is a dreadful place that God dwells in. which they've changed to awesome. So some other interesting bits about Rennes-le-Château, because it's an interesting place. So just some other bits about that village. In the 50s and 60s, the entire area around Rennes-le-Château became the focus of sensational claims involving Blanche of Castile, the Merovingians, the Knights Templar, the Cathars, and the treasures of the Temple of Solomon. Booty of the Visigoths. I'm no good at speaking, mind. That included the Ark of the Covenant and the menorah, the Jerusalem Temple's 7-branched candelabra. Since the 70s, the area's associations have extended to the Pierre de Sion, the Rex Deus, the Holy Grail, ley lines, sacred geometry, the remains of Jesus Christ, including references to Mary Magdalene settling in the south of France, and even flying saucers. Well-known French authors like Jules Verne and Maurice Leblanc are suspected of leaving clues in their novels about the knowledge of the mystery of Rennes-le-Château. Who won that? That was like 25 days ago.
That was...
He's forgot. Who won that?
It was DJ, I think, wasn't it?
Dunno.
Oh,
bloody hell, Mark Froud.
Come
on, everybody, tell us who won that, because this
hang
bloody
on.
loony don't know.
No, I think no one knew. Did
Oh,
they?
nobody learned,
Nobody
Andy.
learned, Andy.
Nobody learned.
Oh, so you're blooming
Oh,
giving me blooming
nobody
gaslighting.
Hi, Margaret. I
Thank
just
you
saw
for
the
getting
word
it.
Margaret. I think I saw Margaret.
Yeah, Margaret's
Oh,
here.
hi, Margaret.
Margaret's here, yeah.
Right,
Margaret. Good to see you.
Number 9. Fingers on buzzers, please. God, that was a lot of words. You see why this takes me all bloody week?
Yeah.
Whose son was institutionalized due to having schizophrenia and was only visited once by his father? Al Capone, Albert Einstein, Alfred Hitchcock, Thomas Edison. Al Capone, Einstein, Hitchcock, Edison. You can have a bloody guess, mind, Ben, if you don't know. So, shall I give you a couple more seconds? Right, anyway. The answer, did anybody say Albert Einstein, Mark?
No.
Oh! Nobody learned, Andy. So, taken... Oh, Christ. Been a bit previous, Vicar.
You're going a bit AI over there. It's just one of its own.
Been a bit previous, Vicar. Okay, so this is taken from medium.com. Einstein married Mileva Maric in 1903, and the couple had 3 children, Liesel, Hans, and Edward. Edward, the youngest child, became seriously depressed and suffered a mental breakdown while studying at the University of Zurich. He was later admitted to a mental institution and diagnosed with schizophrenia. Well, we all know what we think about that, but moving on. It's hard to know what caused Edward's mental state to decline. Einstein, who was highly distressed by the situation, believed his son had inherited the condition from his mother. Hans, meanwhile, believed his younger brother had become dangerously depressed after a bad breakup. Edward never fully recovered. He remained institutionalized for most of his life and had no relationship with his father. Einstein only visited Edward once, and after leaving Europe to live in America, he didn't even write to him.
Wow.
Well, that's a nice man, isn't it? What a nice man. That was depressing. Right. Who was that?
Onwards.
Nobody learned. Nobody. Right, number 10. So this is a 2-pointer. What number comes next? You might need a pen and paper for this one. Oh, I did. Oh, Mark, can you type these numbers in, please?
Oh, right.
Right. What number comes next? 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, question mark. We'll give you a bit of time for this one. Has it gone in?
Yeah.
Which number comes next? Oh, this is a bit more jolly.
Dancing moves.
It's quite good, isn't it? It's like the 80s. Who was first with 55, Mark?
DJ, very quick, but just ahead of Hugo.
Fantastic. So put him down for a point. We've got another question. What is that sequence called? What's that sequence called? What happened there? It did do moo. So that is the Fibonacci sequence.
Well done, Mari.
Well done, Mari. Absolutely fan-bloody-tastic. The Fibonacci sequence. Well done, everybody. A pattern wherein every number is the sum of the two preceding numbers. A quote by Guy Murchie in The 7 Mysteries of Life, an exploration of science and philosophy. So this is a quote by him, whoever he is. The Fibonacci sequence turns out to be the key to understanding how nature designs and is a part of the same ubiquitous music of the spheres that builds harmony into atoms, molecules, crystals, shells, suns and galaxies, and makes the universe sing. I thought that was lush.
Yeah.
That, when you look at the Fibonacci sequence in nature, it's so beautiful. And I thought that quote really kind of gave it. There was loads of other scientific quotes, but I quite like that one because it kind of expressed it when you look at it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Right. Well
Golden
done. Well done, DJ and Mari, was it? Yeah. Well done, everybody.
Golden sequence.
Well done, everybody. Right. Number 11.
Oh, Brian got both answers right, but I don't know if it came in a bit late.
Where is he?
Oh, it just, I don't know if it was maybe your internet, Brian.
Or
unlucky.
Sometimes you've got to refresh because, anyway.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Oh, bless you, Brian. Give him a point. Get it down.
Brian's got a point.
Brian's got a point. Right. Fingers on buzzers, please. Which suit represent... Now, you're going to have to be quick to beat Mari on this one, mind. Which suit represents the element of air? 1 swords, cups, pentacles. Mind you, Margaret's good at the tarot. 1 swords, cups, pentacles. Element of air. 1 swords, cups, pentacles. Element of air. I knew those two girls would get it. The answer is swords, but were they first, Mark? Who was first?
Mari was first with swords.
And Margaret just came in just behind her.
Oh.
So, the suit of swords represents the element of air in tarot. Each suit is associated with one of the 4 elements. Wands with fire, cups with water, swords with air, and pentacles with earth. The sword suit represents intellect, communication, and the power of the mind, which are all qualities associated with the element of air. Yeah, I've just copied that bit twice, which is ridiculous. So yeah, well done, Mari. Well done, Margaret.
Yeah, well done.
So number 12. Fingers on buzzers, please. Which British politician offered a... Doesn't mean I like this person, okay? I thought this was quite good, but it doesn't mean I like this person. Which British politician offered a formal apology to people accused of witchcraft? Nicola Sturgeon, Diane Abbott, Mo Mowlam, Barbara Castle. Who apologised to witches? Nicola Sturgeon, Diane Abbott, Mo Mowlam, Barbara Castle. Sturgeon, Abbott, Mowlam, Castle. Come on, we can't see your great dancing, Mark. You need to move in a bit. You're a robot. You're a robot.
I don't want to be a robot.
Oh,
I'm keeping my humanity. Thank you very much. Bloody transhumanism.
right. Who said Sturgeon?
I was too busy dancing to monitor it.
Monitor it.
I can't dance and monitor
I think
it.
it was DJ.
DJ, I believe, yes, he was the first
DJ.
with Sturgeon. Oh, Jimmy Cranky. Yeah, well done, DJ.
Who said Jimmy Cranky?
Me.
Oh, right. In 2022, Nicola Sturgeon, former First Minister of Scotland, said, "I am choosing to acknowledge that egregious historic injustice and extend a formal posthumous apology to all those accused, convicted, vilified, or executed under the Witchcraft Act 1563. So that wasn't too bad, was it?
Nope.
That was a good thing. Don't mean I like it. Stupid fish-faced cow, but you know. Right, 13. In Blade Runner, what is the Tyrrell Corporation's motto? In Blade Runner, what is the Tyrrell Corporation's motto? Your dreams made real, machines for man, more human than human. Your dreams made real, machines for man, more human than human. Dreams made real, machines for man, more human than human. Do a transhuman dance. Let me see it. In a bit so we can see it. Let's have a look at your transhuman dance. That's quite good.
Is it?
No?
No.
Okay. Who said first, more human than human?
The wonderful Margaret.
Fabulous!
Well done, Margaret.
Well done. There's not a lot she didn't know about science fiction films, mind.
Oh, no. She knows her stuff, mind.
Right.
Oh, just ahead of Brian.
Oh,
Brian was a bit of maybe a slight buffer in there.
Oh,
but
well done, though. Quite a lot of people got that.
Good
well
effort.
Done, guys.
Yeah.
So the Tyrrell Corporation was a high-tech firm primarily focused on the production of androids known as replicants. It was based in Los Angeles and named after its founder, Eldon Tyrrell. Number 14. Project Blue Book's desire to dismiss unidentified phenomena bothered its sole scientist. What was his name? Major Jesse A. Marcel, J. Allen Hynek, Stanton T. Friedman. Who was the sole scientist in Project Bluebeam? Marcel, Hynek, Friedman.
Project Blue Book.
Project Blue Book.
Oh, a bit of a
Freudian slip
there.
Freudian slip. Hey! Marcel, Hynek, Friedman. If Ben gets this wrong, the world's going to collapse.
Oh.
The world will go in on itself. Who was the first to say J. Allen Hynek, Ben? That Mark?
Well, DJ beat Ben.
Oh my God! Oh, it's been nice knowing you, everybody. I think that is the heralding of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Oh my God! Margaret says what Ben says. Well, and DJ, to be fair, well done, DJ.
Yeah.
So, Project Blue Book, not Project Blue Beam, was the code name for the systematic study of unidentified flying objects by the United States Air Force from March 1952 to its termination, allegedly, in 1969. Project Blue Book had one consistent scientific consultant, astronomer Dr. J. Allen Hynek. In 1968, Hynek wrote, "The staff of Blue Book, both in numbers and in scientific training, is grossly inadequate. There was virtually no scientific dialogue between Blue Book and the outside scientific world. The statistical methods employed by Blue Book are nothing less than a travesty." Hynek held Quintanilla in particularly low regard, saying, "Quintanilla's method was simple: disregard any evidence that was to counter his hypothesis." Hector Quintanilla Jr. was a United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, best known as the last chief officer of Project Blue Book. Interesting. Okay. 15. What are the two classes of Norse giants? So pick two. Pick two of what I'm just about to say. Two. What's that all about?
I don't know. It's beautiful, though.
Going a bit fucking mad.
There's a lot of singing today.
I did some singing, didn't I?
You did. It's beautiful.
Right. Pick two. Which are the two classes of Norse giants? Frost giants, fire giants, mountain giants, thunder giants. Norse giants, there's two classes: frost, fire, mountain, thunder. Frost, fire, mountain, thunder. Pick two. Pick two. If you've only picked one, I'm going in again to pick another one. Pick two. Oh, it doesn't want me to pick anymore.
Right, we've got a few answers.
Right, the answer, there are two classes of Norse giants, and it is frost and fire. Did anybody say frost and fire? No.
No, we have various combinations.
But not frost and fire.
Not frost and fire, no.
Nobody learned, Andy. So it was frost and fire together. I'm going to be a bit mean and say you had to get both of them for that one.
Well, I think, yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
It's fair enough.
It's fair enough.
It's fair enough.
It's fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
There'll be a bloody anarchy if we bloody.
There'll be anarchy. Can you imagine it?
We do quite like anarchy.
We quite like anarchy.
But different kinds of anarchy.
I can't be asked with it now.
No, we can't. Not in the quiz.
No, not in the quiz.
No.
Not quanarchy. Hold that a minute. I'm going to sit myself right up.
Oh,
so, this is taken from ScandinavianFacts.com. Frost giants are the predominant group of Jontar, directly descended from the first of his kind, Ymir. Probably not how you say it. Ymir. Most of the giants and giantesses appearing in Norse myths and legends are frost giants or are descended from them. For example, one parent is a frost giant. Fire giants make bookend appearances in Viking lore during the creation narrative and at Ragnarok's fiery conclusion. As fire and ice come together to form the Jotun Ymir, the great fire giant Surt stood guard over the inferno-like realm of Muspel. During Ragnarok's climatic moments, Surt sets the 9 realms of the Yggdrasil tree ablaze, scorching everything within, including virtually all forms of life. Keeping it jolly. Interesting, because we hear a lot about Norse gods. We don't often hear about Norse giants. But seeing as they're going to be part of the bloody end of the world, I think we need to start learning about them. Right, 16. Denver Airport is weird as hell. That's not a quote from a website.
No.
It's just
me. Very true.
Very true. Literally. Murals of genocide, dead children, crying babies, and Nazi-like soldiers adorn its walls. Gargoyles, Masonic plaques, underground bunkers delight and terrify travellers. But the most striking and biggest oddity is a giant 32-foot blue Mustang horse-not car rearing up with terrifying red glowing eyes. What has it locally become known as? Giant 32-foot blue horse with red glowing eyes. What has it locally become known as? Big Joe, the fourth horseman, Lucifer, terrifying Ted. Big Joe, the fourth horseman, Lucifer, terrifying Ted. Who was the first to say Lucifer?
There was a few with the right answer, but Ben was first.
Well done, Ben.
Yeah,
It's a
very
terrifying
quick.
little. It's not little. It's terrifying. Go and have a look at the picture of it.
The whole bloody place.
The whole bloody place. I think they've actually hidden a bit of it now. I think they've hidden some of the nonsense. Lucifer. So the artist Jay Jimenez was killed in 2006 at age 65 in his studio in Hondo, New Mexico, when one of the sculpture's 3 sections came loose from a hoist, pinning him against a steel support beam and severing an artery in his leg. He bled to death on his studio floor before being declared dead on arrival at the nearest hospital.
Wow.
So they call that horse Lucifer, and it literally has sacrificed its maker.
Wow.
Terrifying.
Yeah. Ben knew about it. He said it killed its own sculpture. That's like something out of the Omen film, isn't it, really?
Honest to Christ, it is terrifying. Well done, Ben. Yeah. Right, and everybody. Number 17. Who said this? The way of nature has always been to slay the hindmost, and there is still no other way, unless we can prevent those who would become the hindmost being born. It is in the sterilization of failures, and not in the selection of successes for breeding, that the possibility of an improvement of the human stock lies. So basically, it's just another eugenics quote. Who said that? Was it H.G. Wells, L. Ron Hubbard, Arthur C. Clarke, Philip K. Dick? Eugenics quote. H.G. Wells, L. Ron Hubbard, Arthur C. Clarke, Philip K. Dick. Okie dokie. Who was the first one with H.G. Wells?
Marvelous Mari.
Marvelous Mari. We're going to make a tune. The answer was H.G. Wells. I haven't got a bit of learning for that one, to be honest.
Did do a bit on talk on H.G. Wells back on.
You did.
Our
very first one
that
of this
was the
nonsense.
very first one.
The very first one of doing this nonsense. Yeah. Mark did a little talk on H.G. Wells.
Most people were with us even then.
Yeah.
But if anyone hasn't heard it,
how is that possible?
Must be doing some right.
Gluttons for punishment.
But go back and have a listen if you didn't get it the first time.
Yeah.
Or if you just glutton for punishment.
Number 18. Which British sea... How did we get to 18 already?
Well,
which British seaside town was the place Bram Stoker conceived the story Dracula? Portmeirion, Whitby, Hastings, Tenby. Bram Stoker, where did he come up with the idea of Dracula? Portmeirion, Whitby, Hastings, Tenby. Who was the first one to say Whitby? Mark?
That was DJ, just ahead of Brian.
Well done, everybody.
Mari and Ben also got the right answer. Congratulations.
Well
but
done,
DJ
everybody.
was the winner on that one.
Whitby is a seaside town, port and civil parish in North Yorkshire. Stoker was introduced to the town by a good friend in 1890. After he became exhausted from work, he fell for the place immediately. The Stokers stayed at number 6 Royal Crescent, one of the town's most prestigious addresses. At the height of the Victorian era, Whitby had become one of the most popular resorts in the UK. On the 8th of August 1819, Stoker walked down to what was known as the coffee house end of the quay and entered the public library. It was there that he found a book published in 1820, recording the experiences of a British consul in Bucharest, William Wilkinson, in the principalities of Wallachia and Moldavia, now in Romania. Wilkinson's history mentioned a 15th century prince called Vlad Tepes, who was said to have impaled his enemies on wooden stakes. He was known as Dracula, the son of the dragon. The author had added in a footnote. Dracula, in the Wallachian language, means devil. The Wallachians at the time used to give this as a surname to any person who rendered himself conspicuous either by courage, cruel actions, or cunning. Stoker made a note of this name along with the date. They have vampire cosplay down there.
Oh, yeah. And,
up there.
Steampunk and stuff.
Yeah. Quite like that sort of
Gothic.
We quite like a bit of that. Okie dokie.
Oh yeah, DJ saying King Charles or
yeah,
whatever the number is, fan of Vlad. He was descended from him, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's a strange coincidence.
19. This is a quick one. There is no learning on this one. Leo is the word for lion in which language? Latin, Greek, Hebrew, Arabic. Leo, lion. Is it Latin, Greek, Hebrew, Arabic? I think if we'd had a go, I'm going to turn that rubbish off. Right. Who was the first to say Latin?
First was Mari.
Wow.
Just ahead of Brian again.
No learning for that one. That was just a quick one. It was number 19. I was getting bored. Right. Number 20. Fingers on buzzers, please. Not a lot of learning for this one either.
So the last one, is it?
Last one, Mark.
Oh, exciting, isn't it?
This is quite a cool one, actually. There's no clues for this one. You just got to come up with a number yourself. Oh. Controversial. Major Walter Summerford survived how many lightning strikes? No clues. Oh. $33.
Maybe his finger got stuck.
Okay, now 3 or 4. So who said 3 or 4 first?
There were quite a few threes, and it was
DJ.
DJ was first, just ahead of Margaret.
Well done, DJ. Liz, why did you say 3 or 4? Thanks for asking, Liz. Yeah. I'll tell you now. Thanks, Liz. The reason I said 3 or 4, and the reason it's on my quiz, is because Walter Summerford was struck by lightning 3 separate times throughout his life. He wasn't killed by it, although he was paralysed. 4 years after his death, lightning struck his tombstone.
Oh my Lord.
And it's in pieces. I thought that was mental. What the fuck is that all about? It struck him 3 times and his tombstone 4 years after he died. Etc.
He's called Thor by his mates.
Right, now for the big reveal. Have you done your maths?
Oh yeah, it was very close contest all the way between Mari and DJ.
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
pretty
oh,
woo supremos.
oh,
But on that last question,
on.
DJ got it, so DJ won.
Oh, Christ.
Oh wow!
I didn't know I could still do that.
Probably,
I have done that since we went to see the bloody Pixies in Galway.
That's probably destroyed a lot of eardrums there, all over the world.
Now, DJ don't want a prize. Mari says she never wants a bloody prize, so nobody's getting a fucking prize this week. Well, Mari.
Nobody won, Andy.
No, everybody won.
Well, no,
but nobody.
We're not in some communist utopia now.
DJ won.
Yeah, well, DJ won. He's
Mari
got the
came
moral
second.
victory. He's got the satisfaction of knowing.
Mari always
that he
says,
won.
shove it up your ass. DJ always says, nah, I don't want it. So that'll save us a fucking stamp.
Right.
Well done, everybody.
Yeah.
I think they're just in it for the fun
It's
these
not
days.
it's the part taking part.
Bollocks.
It's the bollocks.
Not everybody gets a trophy, Mark. I'm not living in that world.
No trophies, but enjoyment and the
prize is Crafty's going for a drink.
Hey?
We've got to get wankered on going out, eh?
Hey, yeah.
You've got. Where's the bit? Oh, he's got.
Hey, sorry, I was just.
Mari said the prize is we go out for a drink.
Yay!
Listen, I'm quite blind, and from here, Margaret's emoji looks like somebody sitting on the toilet. What is it?
It's a thing going woo party.
Oh, it looks like somebody sitting on the toilet.
Mm-mm.
Right,
Yeah.
all right, guys. So,
next
hope you enjoyed that. I've already started on next week's because I was a bit slack this week, and I only just finished this one as we came in. So, hope you enjoyed that. It was a little bit better than the singing part. Now we go over to Mark for the clever bit.
Oh, blimey! Always such a build-up.
Yeah.
And I got such a.
Do you need some more water before we start? Let's water you up.
Yeah, we'll have some water. Yeah.
Pass it here.
All right. Well, you be. Oh.
What do you mean a build up? You always do very good, Mark.
Oh, well, they see built me up even more now.
Oh yeah, we're going to be on Neil Peel's show.
Yeah, Neil's got in touch and with Ben, I think, as well. So that'll be good. We'll be.
We're going to be on the Paranormal Peep show.
Yeah, so we'll keep you posted on
I
that.
don't want to do it. I'm nervous.
You'll be great, Liz.
I think Mark should just do it by himself.
No, we're a team. We're a team. Yeah.
No, but he don't have swearing on his show. We're fucked.
Yeah, but it's not live, is it? It's not live, so you could be edited.
This whole show would be beep.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Let's go. Let me get this picture. Hold on. I've got a share. Share.
I thought he was already up there.
No, he's not already up there.
Yeah.
He's just up there for us.
Well, I'm getting a beard in his proportions now, anyway. But
beard in your proportions.
But
right. Hold on. Doesn't make sense. I can't see it yet.
Yeah. All right, but they do know what it's about.
They don't.
I can start talking. Let me start talking, please.
Is it sharing? No. God, we're so unprofessional at this business. Don't miss.
Yeah. Okay. So Fyodor Dostoevsky, born on 11th of November. I probably have ruined pronunciation, so apologies.
Fyodor Dostoevsky.
Yeah, there you go. So born in 1821 in Moscow. He was a second child. His father was a doctor. So he was raised in a family home in the grounds of Marlinsky Hospital for the Poor. So a lower class district on the edges of Moscow. So from an early age, he encountered suffering, the poor, patients in the hospital. People in the worst time of life, really. So I suppose he had this right from the start, human suffering around him. But he was introduced to literature at an early age. From the age of 3, he read heroic sagas, fairy tales, and legends were read to him by his nanny. And he loved fictional stories from that time onwards. When he was 4, his mother used the Bible to teach him to read and write. And his parents introduced him to a wide range of literature, including many famous Russian writers and also other writers from around Europe. So although his father was said to be strict in terms of his education, Dostoevsky said that his imagination was brought alive by nightly readings by his parents. So I think there's going to be again, we've had themes through these talks and a little bit of a thread. I think, although different in many ways, and we'll sort of go through that, but in terms of D, but maybe more in terms of Blake. I remember way back in university, a sadly lost essay I was writing about Blake and Dostoevsky together, and this idea of suffering, poverty, evil, for want of a better word, and the good, the spiritual, the visionary, and this is very much within Dostoevsky and this conflict within him, if you like, between these two, between these different sides, and the way it came out in his great writings. So he had a lot of childhood experiences of suffering, like I said, and one which is very striking and horrible. But when he was a child, I did read some reports saying that this girl was someone he, playmated, a friend of his. I'm not sure if that was true, but anyway, there was a 9-year-old girl that was raped by a drunk man, and he not witnessing what happened, but he witnessed the after effects of this poor girl, and he was asked to fetch his father, who, like I say, was a doctor, to attend to her. And this incident, as you might imagine, haunted him. And so there was several times in his novels that there was an older man that had abused a young girl. There's a scene in my novel Crime and Punishment, which is obviously one of his most classic books. Oh, we got a thing on got a picture, got a real picture rather than a real book. But yeah, there's a scene where the main character Raskolnikov, he sees this girl, a teenager. He says probably she's only about 15, 16, maybe at the most. And he sees her sort of staggering along the street, and catches up with her, and she's slumped into a bench, and he can tell that she's drunk and she's disheveled. Her clothes are ripped, and he can tell that she's been deceived, in the words of the novel, and abused. And then he sees this other man that's watching this girl from across the road, and he can tell that that this guy is just waiting to also take advantage of this poor girl. He acts furiously, and he was shouting at the man to get away. A policeman happens along, and Raskolnikov's saying what this guy wants to do, and they need to protect her. And the girl says in the days, they won't let me alone. So Raskolnikov gives the policeman money to get the girl a cab to take her home, to keep her out of this scoundrel's hands. Why should he outrage her? But within this scene, there's throughout the novel, Raskolnikov, he's got, like I say, this conflict within him, good and bad, and all this moral dilemmas within himself, and he's sort of quite delirious throughout the whole thing. And he just has a sudden change of mind as the girl's walking off and the policeman's following, and this other guy's at a discreet distance, and he shouts after the policeman that why not let them go and let the man amuse himself with her? Why do they have the right to interfere? But as I say, he just sort of fluctuates between these different positions. But his ultimate position, he sits down and thinks, poor girl, she will come to herself and weep, and then her mother will find out, give her a terrible, shameful beating. Then she'll be approached by madams getting her to turn to prostitution. The girl will soon be slipping out on the sly here and there. Then there will be the hospital directly, drink, tavern. In 2 or 3 years, her life a wreck, and her life over at 18 or 19. Have I not seen cases like that? And how have they been brought to it? Why, they've all come to it like that. Oh, what does it matter? That's as it should be, they tell us. A certain percentage, they tell us, must every year go that way. To the devil, I suppose, so that the rest may remain chaste and not be interfered with. A percentage, what splendid words they have. They are so scientific, so consolatory. Once you have said percentage, there's nothing more to worry about. If we had any other word, maybe we might feel more uneasy. But what if Dunya, his sister, were one of the percentage, or another one if not that one? And this, another thing that's throughout his novels is this battle that was, I guess, going on in Russia at the time, where these new ideas were coming in from other parts of Europe after the French Revolution, and from America, the American Revolution, and these different philosophers and these ideas of materialism, science, and things that were going counter to the traditional religion and spiritual way of looking at the world. At least on the face of it, we know organized religion has many evils, but this idea of God and the spiritual as opposed to the material and the scientific. And apparently this reference to the percentage is referring to these essays on social statistics by this economist that were popular in the Russian press at the time. So this Crime and Punishment, I think, came out in 1866. So this is mid 19th century. And it was claiming to find an objective basis for human actions. So it was, and it inevitably dealt on the fraction of victims destined by nature to crime and prostitution. And this seemed to me just an example. There's so many examples. I'll go through some others with these books where it looks like the origins of what we've got in our day, where you've got, whether it's academia or how it's gone into these different institutions that are supposed to be caring for people, the vulnerable, but so often it's this sort of reductionism where people are put into categories, and they have this scientific reasoning. Oh, well, there's a percentage of people that will end up this way, and it makes me think now. I mean, now lots of talk about genetics, and I read something where it's talking about they've done studies of DNA and going back thousands of years to Neanderthal DNA, and people only have a tiny percentage now, but the people who have more of these DNA, they're more predisposed to certain illnesses and conditions, some of which haven't even been invented until recent years. But also actions like people being more predisposed to getting addicted to smoking. And it's just like, again, they're using science as they do to make to rationalize human behavior. And it's this idea, a sort of a precog thing, I suppose, like the Philip K. Dick novel. And there has been talk as well, hasn't there, about we can do all this social studies on people and like their backgrounds and where they live, and we'll find out people that are more likely to commit crime going forward. And you got all this worrying idea where they can accuse people of crimes or being likely to commit crimes before they've even got there. And it just struck me that those essays that he was referring to, saying, a percentage of people always end up that way. And it's sort of like becomes like a scientific fatalism. So to me, Dostoevsky, although he had a very strong Christian sense, to me, it was about it being within the human, and within human life. And he, through so much of his writing, he was railing against these new ideas, this science, this materialism, this nihilism, and sort of go into this more as we go along. But yeah, as with Blake, I think the idea of this suffering of children is crucial to his view, because they're the most vulnerable. They're when I talked about in Lost Children before, they're the most vulnerable in society. They're the beginnings of society. They're the hope. They're how humanity must pass on and grow and hopefully progress. So for people to commit to inflict suffering upon children is possibly it's the worst thing humanity can do. We know there's so much against the people that are doing these things to us. Their agenda is so much about using children. And there's another debate in the brothers Karamazov, which I think is the next picture, I'd say his other like really great, incredible novel. And in there's three brothers, and you have this idea in a lot of the novels where they've got different characters embodying different aspects. So if you like, you can have a dialogue between them and see how the characters interact with each other, and it's these different facets of humanity. So within Brothers Karamazov, you have Alyosha. I think he's the youngest brother, and he's presented as being very very kind, very compassionate. He's a novice monk, and he's a very spiritual person, very devout, and honest, and sort of everyone loves him because he's so kind and gentle. Then there's Dmitri, who's the eldest, who's he's very, I suppose you could call him worldly, materialistic. He's a womanizer, a gambler. He's just leading a hedonistic lifestyle, and just a party animal. Basically, he's a bit off the scale, taking after their father mostly, who's a real degenerate even into later life. But the middle of the brothers is Ivan, and he really is the one that embodies a lot of these atheistic, socialist, liberal ideas that were coming in. But within each of these characters, they're not cardboard cutouts like this guy's all good, this guy's all bad. They obviously have these different aspects, but even this intellectual Ivan, he's having these debates within himself, and he's having this discussion with Alyosha about belief and about Christianity, God. But he starts talking about, well, what about the suffering of children? And he mentions like a graphic example of a boy being killed in front of his father, and he's arguing that how can he accept some beautiful universal harmony if there's this suffering to children in the world? So he says, let me tell you, novice, that the absurd is only too necessary on earth. The world stands on absurdities, and perhaps nothing would have come to pass in it without them. We know what we know. What do you know? I understand nothing, Ivan went on, as though in delirium. I don't want to understand anything now. I want to stick to the fact. I made up my mind long ago not to understand. If I try to understand anything, I shall be false to the fact, and I have determined to stick to the fact. Why are you trying me? Alyosha cried with sudden distress. Will you say what you mean at last? Of course I will. That's what I've been leading up to. So he said, surely I haven't suffered simply that my crimes and my sufferings may manure the soil of the future harmony.
Slower.
For somebody else. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just getting to the crucial bit. I want to see with my own eyes the hind lie down with the lion and the victim rise up and embrace his murderer. I want to be there when everyone suddenly understands what it has all been for. All the religions of the world are built on this longing, and I am a believer. But then there are the children, and what am I to do about them? That's a question I can't answer. Listen, if all must suffer to pay for the eternal harmony, I guess this sort of Christian idea of maybe original sin, and that, people are all sinners and there has to be suffering on earth to pay for this, to get a redemption at the end with heaven. What have children to do with it? Tell me, please. It's beyond all comprehension why they should suffer and why they should pay for the harmony. Why should they too furnish material to enrich the soil for the harmony of the future? I understand solidarity in sin among men. I understand solidarity in retribution too, but there can be no such solidarity with children. And if it's really true that they must share responsibility for all their father's crimes, such a truth is not of this world and is beyond my comprehension.
Not of this world.
Yeah. So he says, I protest that the truth is not worth such a price. I don't want the mother to embrace the oppressor who threw her son to the dogs. She dare not forgive him. Let her forgive him for herself if she will. Let her forgive the torturer for the immeasurable suffering of her mother's heart, but the sufferings of her tortured child she has no right to forgive. She dare not forgive the torturer, even if the child were to forgive him. So it says, besides, too high a price is asked for harmony. It's beyond our means to pay so much to enter on it, and so I hasten to give back my entrance ticket. And if I'm honest man, I am bound to give it back as soon as possible. It's not God that I don't accept, only I must most respectfully return him the ticket. So he's sort of saying that he does believe in a God, but he can't accept this idea of this sort of Christian idea of a heaven on earth if it's ignoring the suffering of children. It made me think, and I can't remember who wrote it, but I think Liz talked about it on the previous video. There was a story, I think Jason Horsley talked about it, didn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember. We did find the author and the book, but subsequently forgot it. But I wish we didn't, because it seems every now and again I have a little cry about it.
But it's a parable of a utopian society where everyone lives in paradise. Everyone's got an amazing existence. Everyone's got an easy life, everything they could possibly want. But the only thing that for all this to happen, there must be one child who's locked away in a basement in horrible conditions, being mistreated and abused. And I think something like once a year, everyone must go and look at this child to know that this child is suffering so they can live in paradise.
And then there was a Doctor Who that completely copied that idea. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It was that Doctor Who with that really cool queen. She was a black woman, but she was really cool. And she was like, and he's like, who are you? She's like, I'm the bloody queen, mate. So she was this Londoner black woman who was playing this queen, and they were sort of, it wasn't really harmony they were living in, but they were living, they could carry on. But this was Doctor Who, but they had to every year they had to see how they were living and how they were getting energy for their spaceship to survive, and it was by this creature that they were whipping and torturing. And it's a very dark Doctor Who, and they had to press a button. Do you want to carry, her as the queen had to sort of like make her her subjects live by hurting this thing or not. So she would always press forget, yes, we will make this thing suffer, and we'll forget that that's happening. I've just said it really wrong, but it's a really good episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah, but I think it is an interesting philosophical point, that it's and I suppose in our lives we do know that people are suffering, and it's so I guess that's an emblematic of that. So Dostoevsky, his philosophy through his life, I think was very much about this hating social injustice, hating the downtrodden, the innocent, and how society treated them. So he was attracted as a younger man to these emerging ideas of socialism, because living in feudal society, I can't remember what year it was, but around that time in the 19th century, it was Russia had been forever this deeply feudal society where all the vast majority were serfs, and they were basically slaves for the landowner, and they had to just work for him. But there was a releasing of the serfs, but obviously people still lived in terrible conditions, and Dostoevsky wrote about that in very detailed ways. He's very similar. He, like I say, he did read Dickens, Dickens. He had that very similar descriptions of people living in terrible conditions, and wrote about it very well, and had this displayed, this dark side of the poverty of life. So he read these socialist writers of the time from France and other European countries, and he was friends with this guy called Belinsky, who was a literary critic, who I read that his ideas he became sort of favoured even the next century in the Soviet era. So his stuff coincided with these socialist ideas, communist ideas. So he read more about the philosophy of socialism, and he was attracted to its logic, its sense of justice, and its preoccupation with the destitute and the disadvantaged. But however, Dostoevsky maintained this Russian Orthodox faith, and these religious sensibilities couldn't accord with this Belinsky's mixture of atheism, utilitarianism, scientific materialism. So they ended up falling out. But he carried on, I suppose, still being interested and hanging out with people that like to discuss these different views. So he befriended people, and he ended up joining this Petrevsky. I'm going to say that terribly wrong. Petrevsky. Petrevsky circle.
Where does it say that? Petrevsky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was a proposed social reforms in Russia, but mainly it seems like principally, especially the Dostoevsky's involvement, it was almost like a book club. It was a literary circle. So I used to go there Saturdays and Sundays, and occasionally participated in their discussions on freedom from censorship and the abolition of serfdom. So I guess it hadn't happened yet. But there were one or two people that were in this group that actually decided that they were going to set about a bit more of a, I guess now would be called a terrorist group, but they wanted a revolutionary society. So there were people within the circle that started being a bit more active in trying to create a revolution, I suppose. So this is in the previous century, of course, to the eventual revolution. But again, it's this ferment of ideas that was starting to lead up to what would eventually be, decades later, the actual, communist revolution in Russia. But we'll talk more about that later. But so it says Dostoevsky became a member of the society, was aware of its conspiratorial aims, and actively participated, although he harbored significant doubts about their actions and intentions. But basically, people in power got to know about this circle. Someone blabbed about it. We got denounced, and it came to the attention of people, even up to the Tsar, then Nicholas I, and he was fearing a revolution in Russia. There'd been all these revolutions in Europe in 1848. There'd been a previous revolt in Russia in 1825. So anyway, the circle, all the members, including Dostoevsky, were arrested, and they were held in this fortress, the Peter and Paul fortress, which housed the most dangerous convicts. The case was discussed for 4 months by the investigative commission, and anyway, they were sentenced to death by firing squad, and they were all taken to this place in St. Petersburg, 23rd of December 1849. They were split into 3-man groups, and the first group was taken in front of the firing squad. Dostoevsky was a third in the second row. The execution, suddenly, just as they were about to shoot to kill the first row, a man runs in with a letter from the Tsar saying, no, they're going to be spared and they're not going to be killed. So it found out afterwards that this was sort of planned, that the Tsar had decided to pardon them earlier, but basically as a form of psychological torture and a way of deterring other people, I suppose, from having any similar ideas.
They're doing the same shit now, aren't they?
Well, yeah. So it was a deliberate thing to, like, at the last minute, oh, you're spared, and I guess also, oh, thank God you've saved me. Well, yeah, totally. But I mean, you can imagine, and a similar story like was in one of Dostoevsky's later novels, The Idiot, where someone relates a similar story. But I mean, to imagine that?
No.
I mean, talk about people having near-death experiences, like if they're
heart attack and die.
Well, yeah, and certainly at least one of his colleagues did go mad after it. But but you can imagine that on Dostoevsky's philosophy and his life afterwards, having that, basically thinking you're within moments of dying and then suddenly to be given life. I mean, it's well, what would that do to you? So, you know, interesting to consider when we talk more, but so they were spared death, but they did he did have to serve 4 years of exile with hard labor in Siberia, followed by a term of compulsory military service, and living in obviously terrible conditions. During this imprisonment, prisoners there got food and clothes from these sort of volunteer women, as well as copies of the New Testament. And you know, so again, as I say, I mean, Dostoevsky was already a sort of a religious. He already had a strong religious faith, but you know, he was reading the New Testament with all these terrible conditions, and that was something that he could latch onto, I suppose. So he described, I think, this House of the Dead, which I've not read yet, which is a novel which talks about, you know, those conditions, but he's written about it as well. In summer, intolerable closeness; in winter, unendurable cold. All the floors were rotten, filth on the floors an inch thick. One could slip and fall. We were packed like herrings in a barrel. There was no room to turn around. From dusk till dawn, it was impossible not to behave like pigs. Fleas, lice, and black beetles by the bushel. He was classified as one of the most dangerous convicts. He wasn't a danger, but I guess, again, because of this, they were trying to stamp down on any sort of revolutionary thought. So he had his hands and feet shackled until his release. He was only permitted to read his New Testament Bible. Now, so in addition to his seizures, that's something, again, I'll go into a bit more, but he was an epileptic. And some stories say he's had his first epileptic fit after he found out his father had died. They're not sure about that, but yeah, he had epilepsy. And that's often, I think, whether it was in fiction, fairy tales, I don't know, but even in modern stories, you know, I've seen on TV people having epilepsy, having a fit, and it's associated with having a vision, and, you know, some sort of second sight or clairvoyance.
Anthony Peake talks about that, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. So that another aspect of Dostoevsky, I think, which goes into his visionary or spiritual elements. But yeah, going through this terrible suffering, and here as well about talking. Well, I mean, obviously, some religious people go through it as they put themselves through it deliberately. This kind of thing, suffering, to try and by going through this trauma, that they will reach some extra understanding. They will see beyond this material world. So he didn't do this deliberately. He had it thrust upon him, but, you know, suffering illness, obviously, in these terrible conditions. The smell of the toilet pervaded the entire building, and the small bathroom had to suffice for more than 200 people. He was occasionally sent to the military hospital, where he read newspapers and Dickens novels. He was respected by most of the other prisoners, but despised by some of the Polish political prisoners because of his Russian nationalism and anti-Polish sentiments. But he does seem that he had almost an otherworldly aspect. He was this sort of religious belief, but he was generally also, when he was a younger man, he was an officer at this military academy. I think he sort of got pushed into it by his father because they were struggling for money. But it said even then he was profoundly religious, the Russian Orthodox religion. And he wrote to this woman that had given him this New Testament, or sent him this New Testament while he was in prison. And he wrote that he was a child of unbelief and doubt up to this moment, and I am certain that I shall remain so to the grave. But he also wrote that even if someone were to prove to me that the truth lay outside Christ, I should choose still to remain with Christ rather than with the truth. So there's elements of that, like that character Ivan, that he had this perpetual doubt, but still he was very fervently that for him the Christian faith was something that got him out of these.
Are we supposed to be having another picture up here?
Not yet. There's not a huge amount of pictures. What is the next? What is the next picture? Have
I
another.
thought you wanted that icon one.
Well, we could have a little mention. Have the icon.
Because I'm getting bored of that.
All right, get him up there.
Oh yes.
Well, just briefly, to not obviously going to go into all of about the Russian Orthodox Church, but the little I have read about it, it does interest me. I'm not a Christian, and I'm not going to become a Christian, but there was centuries ago, I think it was 900 and something AD, there was a split between what became Roman Catholicism and the Eastern Orthodox religions. So I think it was originally Greek Orthodox, and then at one point this Tsar, all these stories about he was looking around for a religion, previously pagan, but wanted a religion for his people, and he adopted this Eastern Orthodox. But one of the things that does strike me about it, that grew up in Russia, was this particular love of these icons, and it's an art form, but
I like it too.
Yeah, but the idea is that these icons are portals. They are like something that will transport you through to the spiritual. So I think of them in a way like mandalas in the Eastern, the Buddhism. Just the idea, the visual image, the art, and how it's something to transport you and take you to a different place, into a different realm.
I bought some when I was in Greece.
Oh, yeah.
I like them.
No, I love that idea. As I say, though not going to follow that particular faith.
It's not
but,
about that.
No, but that idea of the artistic, the imagery, symbolism,
Yeah, I like them.
and transporting you to a different place, a better place, just in terms of how
looking at something beautiful.
Well, yeah.
You know.
Well,
yeah.
Well, no, there's nothing wrong with that. But as I say, these are. I mean, a lot of them. The particular one is just showing Jesus, although there's probably relevance that I don't know about with the.
We do it live.
We do it live, but but
replay.
Well, it's Russian, but no, it's
the same though.
Oh,
you want Russian?
Well, we are in Russia.
We're not.
We are in it for this, but for this talk, we're being transported. It's a portal. This talk is like an icon. I suppose that's the kind of thing that's been corrupted now with the internet and the TV. Although we're watching each other through the internet, but some of them they can be because I think there was reading something that like they didn't follow the Renaissance bypassed Russia, so they didn't have the perspective, the changes in perspective from the medieval. When the Renaissance, and they started to get this is an artist that would be able to talk about that more. But some of them are scenes, and you've got people in the foreground and the background, and they didn't worry about perspective. It was just really a tableau that was trying to maybe tell a story or pass a message on. And I think also like with the frame, it's sort of indented so that the central part of the icon is slightly deeper. So again, it's this idea that the image is removed from the material world. So it's again, it's like going through it, as I say, like a portal.
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. So here, the one on the right. So can they see that?
Which one?
This one.
Yeah, they can see it.
Yeah. So again, you've got all the figures up in I guess in heaven, and again, like I say, not worried about perspective. It's emblematic, symbolic art. it's not realist. And that's I think something interesting to consider with Dostoevsky's writing, because, like I say, he's known for being a great depictor of realistic scenes of poverty and all these human tragedy and trauma, and he writes about that like Dickens, and in a very striking way. But there's so many other things within the novel that, if you like, are not realistic or not materialist in terms of like a hard, this is positive, this is just the poverty, and it's all just about the here and now and the grimy. As I say, he obviously had a spiritual nature, and so there's a lot of there's examples of characters having dream scenes within the novels, and there's unrealistic bits where you've got these sort of double aspects and things that are unlikely, like within Crime and Punishment. Obviously it's in St. Petersburg, which is a city, but two of the major characters who don't know each other, it just turns out that they realized that they're actually living in the apartments next to each other, and these two characters are Svidrigailov, who's this epitome of evil, if you like. He again is another one of these older rapacious men who had various things talked about how he took advantage of young women, basically a rapist, and possibly rumors that he was responsible for leading to the death of one young woman particularly that he'd abused, and she committed suicide. And again, in a dream sequence, he has a dream about this Svidrigailov, and it's like a dream within a dream. He has a dream, like a nightmare. He wakes up, and then he's going about, and then he sees this girl in this like vulnerable state, and then he realized he hasn't woken up. He's still in another dream. So it's a bit of a sort of an early Inception type thing. But the point is, Svidrigailov, this evil character, is basically just a thin wall away from Sonia, who is this prostitute, and she's like, if you like, a bit of a Mary Magdalene character. She's been forced to prostitution because her father is a drunk, and just loses all the money for the family. So she's forced to go out to be a prostitute to earn money for the family, and she's very religious, but she has to suffer this shame. So you've got this sort of saintly character, although tainted in the eyes of the moralist, if you like, just right next door to the evil person. So obviously that's not a realistic scenario, although we know coincidences happen in life, but it's sort of him putting these patterns within it, and symbolic, almost fairy tale aspects within a gritty novel that's portraying this harsh reality for people living at the time. So going back to the just managed to click the wrong button there. So so as I was saying, I think Dostoevsky not only has this conflict between the material, scientific, and the religious and spiritual in terms of his belief, but also in perception of the world. And there's this spiritual within the material, which was maybe significantly influenced by this experience of him facing death when he thought he was going to die, and he had moments to live, and then being reprieved. So it's like a near-death experience. And I think a lot of people say that after near-death experiences, they then have this visionary or some sort of clairvoyance. People have talked about that. Not that Dostoevsky, I'm not aware of him claiming that he had anything like that, but to me, it maybe strikes me that they would have contributed to this sort of feeling of something spiritual within the material world. Yes. So as I say, back, even from a young man, he was respected by people he was growing up with. They thought he was a solitary person. He was a bit of a loner. He had his sort of literary world. But he criticised people that he saw as being corrupt among the officers in his military academy. He helped poor farmers. But he was a man of conflicts and contradictions. I think Brian was made a comment on Facebook that he was a gambler, and he fell into a gambling addiction that for years, and he struggled with money. Him and his wives, because I think a first wife died and then he got married again. But yeah, he suffered terribly because he would gamble away the money. And I say these characters like the one Sonia's father, who is a drunk and wastes all their money. He had this moral battles within himself, because he must have, as I say, he was this deeply religious man, and idea of these noble thoughts of people being Christian, but yeah, he was addicted to gambling and was wasting his money, and it was causing problems for him and his family. So, but he had this strong hope and belief that which he saw through Christianity. But this sort of juncture between the spiritual and the material, I think it's symbolized. The main character in Crime and Punishment is called Raskolnikov, and Raskol in Russian means split or schism. So, and the character himself is certainly divided, and he's going through all this uncertainty and guilt. And he's murdered an old pawnbroker woman, and there were two painters that were in the flat below, and they're considered to be suspects when they're trying to find out who's done the murder. And there's a scene where Raskolnikov is being almost interrogated in a sort of jokey way by the detective Porphyry, who seems to me like a bit of a model for these detective type characters that went on into Agatha Christie times and all that sort of thing.
Crime and Punishment.
Is Crime and Punishment.
I saw pictures.
This painter suddenly rushes in and says he did the murder. He confesses to a crime that he didn't commit. He's one of this religious sect called the Schismatics. So when he rushes in, he basically reads in Russian, like he says, "I am Raskolnikov because I am a schismatic." And again, there's all this idea of doubling. So he's someone who's religious and is admitting to a crime that he didn't commit, and Raskolnikov is someone who's embracing all these modern ideas, who won't own up to the crime. And the thing is, he does this crime. There's mention of, because he's in poverty, and this pawnbroker woman, she's miserly, and she's got all this money and gold that she takes advantage of people, and she's got this money, so she doesn't deserve to keep it, and she's a terrible character, so she doesn't deserve to live. And this is sort of Nietzschean idea that this Raskolnikov, and it's sort of an irony because he's this pathetic character in this tiny sort of hovel of a flat. He was a student, but he dropped out of his studies. His mother and his sister have sort of gone through hardship to give him this opportunity to study, and he's taken advantage of that. So he's a rubbish character basically, but he's got this sort of these ideas that someone like a Napoleon, if they should have the right to maybe commit a crime, if that will then mean that they can achieve greatness, and then that will be a better thing for humanity. So that gives certain people the right to do terrible things, this skewed morality. but as I say again, it's showing up these ideas for being worthless because, and certainly without any moral basis. It's a bit like, as I say, I mentioned Nietzsche, this idea of there's a Übermensch, there's the people can achieve this sort of Superman. Everyone can have this, achieve this greatness, but I think for many people, Raskolnikov is misunderstanding that, and he's maybe assuming this right to do a terrible deed without actually achieving any sort of greatness within himself. And interestingly, I don't know if Dostoevsky got the idea. I suppose this character Raskolnikov, the ideas he was talking about, it would have been out there from Nietzsche, because they sort of crossed over in terms of their lives. But I did read that Nietzsche didn't actually discover Dostoevsky's work until 1887. So that was after Dostoevsky died. I guess it might have been partly to do with when things were translated and that sort of thing. But he did then call Dostoevsky, he said, the only psychologist from which I had something to learn, and described him as being among the most beautiful strokes of fortune in my life. But I thought it was interesting because he only, as I say, discovered him quite late on, Nietzsche. But then, as I say, things like Crime and Punishment is basically analysing and critical of a lot of these ideas. But maybe Nietzsche would be quite pleased that people were, because maybe these people had abused his ideas, perhaps, and weren't presenting them in the right way. But I thought it was interesting that in Crime and Punishment, there's a description of a terrible dream which Raskolnikov has, where he's a child, again, some to the importance of children, but he's witnessing a man beating an old horse to death. And this apparently Dostoevsky, he saw as a youth himself, he saw a man beating up this coachman, and then the coachman turned himself and was beating his horses. And again, it was a thing of suffering that obviously had an impression, and he ended up putting it in his works.
You don't have to find some depressing.
But so, as I say, Nietzsche found his work in the 80s. So I'm presuming he would have read that passage, and it's interesting because later, 1889, Nietzsche had a mental breakdown, and when he was in Italy, his two policemen approached him after he caused a public disturbance in the streets of Turin. It says, what happens remains unknown, but an often repeated tale from shortly after his death states that Nietzsche witnessed the flogging of a horse at the other end of the Piazza Carlo Alberto. He ran to the horse, threw his arms around its neck to protect it, and then collapsed to the ground. And I just wondered if he had in his mind, as I say, he'd gone mad by that point, but the scene from Crime and Punishment maybe resonated in him and triggered this action. But I suppose I think we had this as our tagline for the talk, so I suppose I better mention it. But he's
I don't think we had a tagline.
Did we not have a tagline in the end?
Bother with it. Just for Dostoevsky.
Oh yeah, but there's this. Well, it's a quote, but apparently he never quite used these words.
Who?
Dostoevsky. Yeah, but if God does not exist, then everything is permitted.
Oh yeah.
So I had a couple of videos that are on the channel talking about this. So I don't. You didn't use quite those words, but it was again around Brothers Karamazov when this character Ivan's having these discussions, like I was reading out about him talking about suffering children. I think actually Jean-Paul Sartre, the French existentialist philosopher, he sort of summarized this sort of debate in that phrase, and then other people have taken it up. But I did mention in the video previous video that
that's him in prison.
Oh right,
on the left.
Well, wow. That what was I going to say? I couldn't find it again when I was looking for it, but I remember years ago looking at a website, and it was someone that was referring to that phrase, and they were saying what a great phrase it was, but basically because they were taking it, they didn't believe in God, so they were taking it, that meant that anything was permitted. And that's sort of the Satanist, you got the sort of Church of Satan, when it tries to appeal to people who are atheist materialists, because it says, oh, that we're a church against God. We don't believe in God, or we're against God. You can do what you want. You can be a hedonist. You can have a hedonistic life. That's certainly not, as I was saying, certainly not what Dostoevsky believes. As I say, he had these debates within his novel, within characters, about the for want of a better word, the godly. And I know that's a loaded term, because whatever, many gods in whatever religion or belief you're looking at have done terrible things, but shall we say a good and spiritual way of being.
It's challenging nihilism.
Yeah.
It's throwing it back in its face. It's saying, well, if nothing matters, then you might as well, why not do what you want? Yeah. So things must matter, because we obviously can't and won't and shouldn't do that. I mean, but people are so stupid, aren't they?
But I mean, I read there's some interesting debates, because I was looking on some websites, and someone was talking. It was this philosopher Zizek, and it was on this website. But they were making a point, and okay, it's a decent enough point that that there's plenty of people that don't believe in God, but that doesn't mean that they will go out and commit terrible acts, because they will still know it's not right to kill someone or torture someone. And they were making a counterpoint that there's a lot of cases now, well, not just now, but they were saying, oh, it's more people do terrible things if they feel that they've got the permission of God to do it, like they're doing it for a religious, where a religion says, you've got God on your side, you can go and kill those people because they're not the believer of.
We're not talking about somewhere across the pond now, are we, Mark? The place beginning with G that shall not be named. G and G.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I've got some pictures.
That is.
When we get into them.
I don't know. Sorry, I'm just trying to get me flow together. So, I've lost it now. What I was going to say, I think, where this website was talking about sort of making out, in our sort of rationalist scientific world now, it those people, even if they're being hedonistic, and they haven't got that they have some self moralism within themselves, and I think most people do have that. But I think where it's been twisted, because they've made scientism now this religion, and we know how they've used it in recent times, so they make it a different God of the greater good, for your safety, for your health, and they convince people that they're doing things, as we know with the jibber jabber and things like that, where they convince you to, again, and it's very much like a religious thing, that they can do these things and they're permitted to do these things because it is for the greater good. It is fulfilling a if you like, this sort of science, or the science that they prescribe. It's that gives them permission to do these things. That has said that this jab is going to save people's lives. That gives them a moral superiority to just do it, and even to criticize people that won't do it. So I guess what I'm saying is, I think when I was reading that, I can find that website. We can maybe put it in the comments later or something, so people can have a look at it. But I think it was an interesting talk, but an interesting discussion. But I think we know how exactly the same way as people in religions, how they have abused God, if you like, or used it to make people do things, terrible things to other people. I think just in a more sanitized, on the surface, not in the same way as shooting someone, although we know that goes on. But like I said, that example of what's happened in recent years, they give people a moral superiority, a feeling of it, to make them feel justified in doing things that have harmed other people, but they're just ignorant of the consequences. But we mentioned mentioned first of all that this schismatic sect, and that was quite interesting. Again, it went back centuries, where within the Russian Orthodox Church there was a schism, where there was someone who decided they were going to break away from the traditional beliefs and try and bring in some newer ways of like practicing the religion. So it was all again within. I mean, it's crazy how you have these conflicts, and ended up having persecutions and people fighting, bloodshed, people dying over this. People who were for the old beliefs, the old way of practicing the same religion, Christianity, Orthodox Christianity, and these newer ways. So there came out of this, as it was called, like a schism in the Russian Orthodox Church, and these people who believed in keeping the old beliefs were known as schismatics. And there were various persecutions against them, a lot imprisoned or sent to exile in Siberia. So it was really, you could see that was maybe a centuries old beginning of things that would develop, and eventually then go to this revolutionary feeling within Russia. And then Russian nihilism, again, was this sort of pool. It says
that's not Russian. That's not Russian nihilism. That is not
I put on Twitter the advertisement for this talk, and I was saying that's never been put together. It's hashtag Dostoevsky, hashtag Russia, hashtag Dylan Mulvahony.
That's just woke him up.
Yeah. So this Russian nihilism, it was like a rejection of what had happened before. Again, these rejecting the old state with the connected to these the religion and the old beliefs of way of doing things. But then this nihilism, which Dostoevsky in through his novels,
just scarred Murray for life.
They had this idealism, and Dostoevsky was criticizing these people who had these beliefs. And I'm gonna actually,
Christ.
Oh Christ!
What could possibly go wrong?
That's all right. Well, again, I had talked about this on a previous video, and I just need to find a bit. So,
read it slowly. You read too bloody fast.
Okay. Well, I put a video up about this because when I read it, it really struck me, because it was, example, you've got all these different characters who think they're following all these radical ideas, and it really struck a chord with what's happening now and people now. So there's this character, and it says he was really rather stupid. He attached himself to the cause of progress and our younger generation from enthusiasm. He was one of the numerous and varied legion of dullards, of half-animate abortions,
Hmm?
conceited, half-educated coxcombs who attach themselves to the idea most in fashion,
Wow.
only to vulgarise it, and who caricature every cause they serve, however sincerely.
You have read that out before, I think.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I put it on a
Hmm.
video. Useful Idiots.
Useful Idiots, a video called Useful Idiots that we won't bother to put in the description box. Going to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, we might do.
Well, you know, it's
Well, I might do,
easily
actually.
found on a channel, but why not?
Yeah.
But yeah, really struck. It's so striking that so much now, and I think Mari made the point. It's like what was that meme? I'm into the latest thing or whatever, you know, and it's this way of I was saying about how maybe the materialist way, you know, ads actually can make people do terrible things, but it is this idea of the useful idiot that think, well, a lot of it may be they just ego and they want to get in with this movement because it gives them some sense of importance. Maybe they've got some chip on their shoulder, but maybe they actually really do want to do good. There was obviously a lot of social injustice going on in Russia, so and the old ways were, you know, they were autocratic and they were crushing people down. So they wanted a change to that, and that will be a good thing. But people like that, they would just jump on whatever new trend come up, and because they just jumped on it and they were doing it for shallow reasons, they just end up making it look like a parody. They make it look weak and feeble because they're not really, it hasn't really based on anything of substance. And as we know, it's those people, those useful idiots, that can be used to do terrible things or just to be a little facilitator to let terrible things happen. So this nihilism that was around in Dostoevsky's time, and it was really this interested me. It was said their attraction to the airy heights of idealism was partly a result of the stultifying political atmosphere of the autocracy, but was also an unintended consequence of Tsar Nicholas I's attempt to Prussianize Russian society. And we know that Prussian education system. So this historian saying the flight from the harsh reality of everyday life into the ideal was prepared on an intellectual level by the theosophy of Freemasonry, which exercised great intellectual force in Russia at the time, especially among those intellectual education had been shaped by Bohemian mysticism of the radical Orthodox sects, the so-called old believers. So that's these schismatics. So that really interesting. So saying the ideas of Freemasonry and theosophy, which we know are so critical around the world to getting us to where we are now, they fed into these nihilistic people of nihilistic thoughts, and it was out of those nihilistic thoughts that came the communists, the Bolsheviks, that would eventually have the revolution in the 20th century, years after Dostoevsky died. But you see in the books how these things were being fermented and how it was starting way back then. So this is in St. Petersburg after the Bolshevik revolution in 1917, I believe. Yeah. So I was just going to say, obviously, Russian Revolution, long time. Well, I say long time. It's what was about 35 years or plus after Dostoevsky died. But there's old Lenin. But just as an aside, you know, we talk about useful idiots being used, and you know, I was reading or reading and watching some videos of Anthony Sutton, really interesting on how Wall Street, or various big name bankers that we know about, the likes, I think JP Morgan was involved, but big name bankers anyway, actually helped fund the Russian Revolution, and then way into communism, big major corporations were providing help. They were doing it to get money back, but he was saying that actually they wanted this controlled economy when Russia, because Russia had an earlier revolution, sort of semi-revolution, 1905, where there was some concessions made by the Tsar, and there was I think there was some sort of parliament, a bit of a constitutional monarchy type situation, but this later revolution, it got taken over by the Bolsheviks, and there was all these. Trotsky was in America at the time. Somehow, although he didn't have any money supposedly, but he had thousands of pounds or whatever, thousands of currency. Went up to Canada. He was originally taken off the boat, but then he was he was on his way to go to Russia to help lead the revolution, or try and sort of take it over, I suppose. But then he was allowed to go on there. Lenin had this famous sealed train that, because he was in exile in Switzerland, to take him through Germany, I think, to get to Russia. But they basically had lots of helpers from the rich and powerful, and where you think that the millionaire bankers in America and Britain and Germany would, the last thing that they would be doing would be supporting a communist revolution and the Soviet Union, but that came out of it. But in actual fact, they were the force behind it in many ways. They made it happen, or allowed it to happen. So that's, I guess, the consequence of these confusion of ideas, in a way, and this obsession with the material, scientism, to use a different word, but to lose humanity amongst it all.
Do you want Big L?
Well, you can have Big L, but I'm just gonna. I think I might just finish up with. Actually, we'll finish up with Dostoevsky. We don't want Lenin. We want Dostoevsky.
Well, just
yeah. Because, so just to say, so in 1881 there was, funny enough, there was a search for members of a terrorist organization who would soon assassinate Tsar Alexander II. This is 1881. And the Tsar secret police executed a search warrant in the apartment of one of Dostoevsky's neighbors. On the following day, Dostoevsky suffered a heart attack, and his wife denied that the search had caused it, saying the hemorrhage had occurred after her husband had been looking for a drop pen holder. After another hemorrhage, Anna called the doctors, who gave a poor prognosis. He had a third hemorrhage and died. He requested that the parable of the prodigal son be read to his children. And the profound meaning of this request is pointed out by Joseph Frank. It was this parable of transgression, repentance, and forgiveness that he wished to leave as a last heritage to his children, and it may well be seen as his own ultimate understanding of the meaning of his life and the message of his work. It's unclear how many attended his funeral. According to one reporter, more than 100,000 mourners were present, while others describe attendance between 40 and 50,000. His tombstone is inscribed with lines from the New Testament. Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it dies, it bringeth forth much fruit. Now, I know a lot of Christian sentiment won't appeal to a lot of people, but I think the message from that is the idea of rebirth. And we're coming up for Easter soon. But just better finish again. I put this on another video, but it's such a blinding quote that I don't think we can not talk about it in the light as well. And I suppose, bearing in mind that so Crime and Punishment came in 1866, I think it was published. And as I say, it was analysing within it all these ideas and this nihilism, materialism, but Dostoevsky wanting to, he was talking about the idea of salvation and the spiritual to countermand that. But as we know, it did continue, and it got worse, and there was a revolution, and it was against unfair autocracy by the people in charge. But again, the rich and powerful took it over. Even they were behind the scenes, so they still won out. So the real humanity didn't. It was still crushed. So in this epilogue of Crime and Punishment, so, and fun enough, it's around this time again. So Raskolnikov, he was in the hospital. This is an exile in Siberia, in prison. He was in the hospital from the middle of Lent till after Easter. When he was better, he remembered the dreams he had had while he was feverish and delirious. He dreamt that the whole world was condemned to a terrible new strange plague that had come to Europe from the depths of Asia. All were to be destroyed except a very few chosen. Some new sorts of microbes were attacking the bodies of men, but these microbes were endowed with intelligence and will. Men attacked by them became at once mad and furious. But never had men considered themselves so intellectual and so completely in possession of the truth as these sufferers. Never had they considered their decisions, their scientific conclusions, their moral convictions so infallible. Whole villages, whole towns and peoples went mad from the infection. All were excited and did not understand one another. Each thought that he alone had the truth and was wretched looking at the others, beat himself on the breast, wept and wrung his hands. They did not know how to judge and could not agree what to consider evil and what good. They did not know whom to blame, whom to justify. Men killed each other in a sort of senseless spite. They gathered together in armies against one another. But even on the march, the armies would begin attacking each other. The ranks would be broken and the soldiers would fall on each other, stabbing and cutting, biting and devouring each other. The alarm bell was ringing all day long in the towns. Men rushed together, but why they were summoned and who was summoning them, no one knew. The most ordinary trades were abandoned because everyone proposed his own ideas, his own improvements, and they could not agree. The land too was abandoned. Men met in groups, agreed on something, swore to keep together, but at once began on something quite different from what they had proposed.
I did think Haiti, DJ.
Yeah. They accused one another, fought and killed each other. There were conflagrations and famine. All men and all things were involved in destruction. The plague spread and moved farther and farther. Only a few men could be saved in the whole world. They were a pure chosen people, destined to found a new race and a new life, to renew and purify the earth. But no one had seen these men. No one had heard their words and their voices.
And what year was this written?
1866.
Can we just say, can we let Crime and Punishment be fiction again? Honest to God.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it was like that in the Russian Revolution, and it could have been describing what was going to happen. But now, yeah, it's happening again.
It goes around, and like I was saying in my previous video this afternoon, it goes around and around and around and around. All we've got to do is look and read old books, go to old museums, like I say in my old video, the video I did this afternoon. Look at old bits of pottery, look at the pictures on them. It's all there.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
And can I just say, the quotes you've just read out of Crime and Punishment, can we just go back to the beginning? Can we do a full loop? Okay. So that quote you've just read there, but, you know, according to science, we're evolving.
Yeah.
Those words that Mark just read there in when? 1918 what?
1866, I think.
And what do we get today? What do we get today? These are the days of girlhood. Got my dolls by my side. Hot girls to the front of the line. That first is that, but apparently, according to science, we're evolving, Mark.
But yeah, but also that thing that was singing that is an example again of this, the confusion. No one knew what anything was. Everyone was like,
thing somewhere. Where's the thing?
And the thing about the famine, the land, I mean, that happened just in Russia a century later. You know, under Stalin, they had these agricultural reforms, same as they did in the communist China, where suddenly it was like, oh no, you've got to have these committees to decide, and we've got to have these methods. We've got to farm the land on these certain ways, and the old ways of the people who farmed it for centuries, that they're cast out. And the result was famine, where millions died, Russia and China. And now, in a different way, again, they try and do it in a sanitized way for the greater good, but that's what they're trying to do now with Bill Gates buying up farmland, governments in Europe taking up farmland.
To end on a positive. Let's go back to our little faces.
But it was, I should have done it a different way round, but I wanted to end, actually, I got it in a order, but that message, I know it's a Christian message, and a lot of people here won't like Christian message.
What's wrong with a Christian message?
But it, you know, it's a universal truth, but it's that idea about if the wheat going in the earth, and it's lonely and dies, but it brings forth much fruit. And I suppose it is that hope again. I mean, talk about Easter, and funny enough, that although it was a grim scene, but it was in Easter, and Crime and Punishment is not wanting to do a whole spoilers, but it's about trying to get redemption. Even after going through suffering, even after committing evil, there is still hope for humanity. And that's the point. The cursed of the earth, or whatever, Raskolnikov, a murderer, Sonia, a prostitute, they can come together to get to try and absolve themselves of their sins. They've had this suffering, they've done these sins, but they need to own it, to use a horrible modern term. And there's still hope. They can still do good things. They can still love and live life. So Dostoevsky's overriding message, to use another horrible thing that's been trampled on and abused, hope not hate. But in the real sense of it, that was definitely what Dostoevsky meant. He saw this nihilism as being against hope and against love, and it was just the worst kind of materialism, but without something that's infused with love and the spiritual, for want of a better word. And without that, you just get this moral vacuum, and that will, I just say, that allows people, the rich and powerful, to abuse and to steer things into their own way. If people won't have this, and yes, because people will force other people to do terrible things in the name of God, but then that's not what it should be about. They're abusing that religious sense. So it should be about the heart, love, and the spiritual.
And in a way, all right, you did amazing as always, Mark Froud.
Thank you for sticking with it, people.
But this is why we do this. This is why we do these live streams, because we just want people to come together, you know, like-minded people that can feel isolated in this madness. That's why we say, let's have fun in the madness. We're learning, we're having a laugh, we're coming together in the chat box. There's been some absolutely amazing conversations going on. We'd be, if we were to go through all of the amazing comments, we'd be here another 17 hours. And I've got a pizza in the fridge, mate. So, but seriously, as always, we do this for us, because it's kind of our social life, but we also do it because we love you guys, and we can't actually believe that you come back in a way.
Yeah, thank
know,
you. I really
we can't
appreciate it for
actually
me
believe it.
wittering on for an hour or so.
Thumbs it up, guys, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
I don't know what that does, but that's what that's what they say.
It gives us affirmation.
Affirmation makes us feel like it's worth it.
Yeah.
But yeah, well done, Mark Froud. Knocked it out of the bloody park again. Oh, I've got an idea. I've got an idea.
Quiz mistress. What's your
call
idea?
me?
Quiz mistress.
What
did you think I called you?
I didn't know. I've got an idea. Everybody get your fingers poised over the buttons.
Oh, Christ.
And I've got an idea.
Oh, I'm not going to participate.
No, you're not participating.
I'm watching.
Everybody put your fingers over the buttons and type, what do you want Mark to do about next?
Oh my God.
No, let's just see what the polls. We might ignore it, but we might not. Let's just have a look, see what they come up with.
Thank you, Hugo. You're diamonds, he said. Bless him. Thank you, Hugo.
Thanks, Hugo. Let's just see what comes up. If Johnny's there, it's going to be something absolutely ridiculous. Broad beans or something. Egypt. Interesting.
Oh, yeah,
well. That's a big trampoline to jump off. You could go in any direction there.
Yeah.
Like if I went on a trampoline, I could end up anywhere. So could the trampoline.
Well, there is that. I suppose there's only certain places you can go, DJ. So
cannabis. Wow, that's an interesting one actually. Hugo, I don't know if you know, me and my son both work in drug and alcohol agencies, and he actually did do a very interesting presentation on cannabis and hemp and the reasons it's been this, that, and the other made criminal, etc. So that's an interesting one. But so far, Egypt was the top one. Blue Lotus.
Oh, that's something I don't know about.
Well, you bloody have to start googling.
I have to start googling.
All right, guys, we're going to go because we haven't had nothing to eat.
Thank you for your suggestions. Yeah.
Thank you for staying with us. Cellos. That took you a while, John. I thought it was going to be broad beans.
All right. Well, maybe I can combine them.
But thank you so much, and well done, DJ and Mari. You did brilliant. I think DJ was the overall winner, though.
Yeah,
he's quite the
nicked it at the end.
He's quite the big-brained person.
Right.
I'm saying.
All right, Mari, thanks. I'm gonna check it out.
All right, guys, we're gonna say night and hope to see you again next week. We're not going to do one for Easter, which is in 2 weeks, because we got me other friend son.
But you other bits?
I don't know. We've got some people coming down.
Yeah.
So thank you for sticking with us. Again, we don't understand why, but it keeps us entertained as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Keeps us off the streets, keeps him out of the fucking pub watching football. We love you so much, guys, and hope to see you next week. Bye. Bye.
All 5 fish says Kazari Mafia. All lots of things. We'll look at the comments later. Thank you very much.
Bye. That'll get us kicked off. Kazari and Mafia. Probably just saying that. Do a good pose.